WWE Night of Champions 2023 is in the books. And man, I got to tell you, that is one of their better Saudi Arabia shows. I believe the count is up to 9 now since this deal was struck with the Kingdom many years ago. And this is one of the better ones they've done. This was a really, really good pay-per-view, guys. I got to say, from top to bottom, pretty happy with it. There was a couple matches in there that, or maybe one match in there that we didn't really need, but for the most part, there was surprises, there was good action, there was storyline development, and just overall a really, really good, fun night of wrestling for the Saudi Arabian audience. And it was just, it was nice to see that this pay-per-view was not a sleeper in any way. Brand new World Heavyweight Champion crowned, really, really compelling main event. Even though throughout the night, I wasn't sure about how I felt about Roman Reigns and Solo against Sami and Owens main eventing, since they announced that Seth Rollins and AJ would be opening the show. I was a little iffy on that because I've been a really big stickler on this podcast for the past few weeks since the announcement of the World Heavyweight Championship was made, that I really think that title needs to be front and center at this pay-per-view. And I thought that that needed to go on last, which is why they booked Roman in a non-title match, or in a match where he's not defending his titles. I thought that would give them a reason to put Roman on the undercard. That way the World Heavyweight title, crowning the new champion, can kind of be the focal point of the show. It was still very good. Seth and AJ opened instead, and we ended up getting Sami and Owens against Roman and Solo in the main event. Once we got to the main event and I saw what they did, now I kind of understand, why that match went on last. It was a little bit head scratching. I usually don't care really where matches land on the show. I always find it interesting where matches land, but I usually don't die on any hills, or this should have been the main event or this or whatever. I usually don't care about that. But this was an exception, since this is the crowning of this brand new championship that you already have got, that already has the stigma of being a second or a consolation belt or a second place belt or whatever. It's already got that stigma attached to it. So the last thing it needs is to be on the undercard or to seem not as important as anything else you're doing or some of your secondary titles. But once you saw it was really the story that unfolded in the main event with what went on with the Usos and Roman, specifically Jimmy, and you can see, the bloodline continuing to crack, and it's going to end with Roman Reigns being all alone. You can tell that. Even last night on SmackDown, that little look between Solo and Roman when Roman, made him give him all the belts or whatever, you can tell that eventually Roman's going to be by himself. When is this going to happen? Before SummerSlam, after SummerSlam, or do they stretch this shit all the way to next year's WrestleMania? There is a lot to think about here, but in terms of how everything went down in the main event, it went exactly the way we kind of laid out. You knew 1,000,000% that the Usos were going to be involved in that tag team title match. There was no way they were not going to be involved. They definitely were going to be, and that's what I predicted on the predictions podcast and last week. I said, I am not putting 4 titles on Roman Reigns. I'm not. He's celebrating his 1,000th day as champion. I think today, which, by the way, sidebar, is incredible. Bruno, Pedro, Backlund, and Hogan are your only quadruple digit day runs. They're the only people over 1,000 days as champion ever in WWE's history. And this is something that's going on about a 40-year, 50-year record now. And Roman may never beat Bruno's record or Backlund's or even Hogan's, but the fact that he's in the conversation with those guys is pretty remarkable in 2023. I think it's safe to say you're never going to see that again. Unless Gunther gets his hands on the World Heavyweight title and holds it until I die, that would be fine. But I don't know how you're going to ever repeat what Roman Reigns has done, at least in the near future. Maybe 30 years from now, you can do it again. But I really think records like this are going to be records that are going to stand for decades, plural, So Roman Reigns has made his mark regardless of where he drops the title now. I feel like WWE maybe all along just wanted to get him to that 1,000-day mark. It feels like there's excuse after excuse after excuse as to why not to take the belt off of Roman. But now that you've hit 1,000 days, unless you want to go after Hogan's record, which is still over a year away, maybe now is finally time where the table is set for Roman to drop the belts sometime this summer, perhaps at SummerSlam, maybe even Money in the Bank, depending on what the situation is there. But now he's going to have a serious problem with the Usos. He's got his big 1,000-day celebration coming up this week on SmackDown. The Usos are going to be showing up, or maybe not showing up. Something's going to go on there. Plus, all of the uncertainty with Solo, because the only talking Solo has done has been with his facial expressions, and you can kind of tell that when push comes to shove, Solo is probably going to side with his brothers before Roman Reigns, but you never know. Solo did eat a double super kick from his bros today, but it was totally unintentional, where the 2 super kicks that Roman ate were very intentional, and kind of having Jay right in the middle of this, I thought was great. It was very reminiscent to how Jay was when Sami hit Roman with the chair at the Royal Rumble. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? And you could tell how torn he is and how freaked out he is. Deep down, it's probably something that he's wanted to do himself, to Roman, that Jimmy did, but it's still kind of scaring him a little bit. And this goes all the way back to the 2021 feud with Roman and Jay when Jay was very defiant. He was not about this acknowledge me shit. He didn't even understand what was going on with Roman. What the fuck's wrong with you? What do you mean acknowledge you? You know, and he was defiant. He did not want to fall in line with Roman and allow him to become that tribal chief. And Jimmy was very much involved in that. So Jimmy kind of sticking up for his brother once again, I think is great long-term stuff. I love it and excited to see how it goes this summer. However, based on everything we've seen so far with the Bloodline since WrestleMania, just reiterates what I felt like ever since the night of night 2 at WrestleMania, and that is Cody should have won that title. You can make arguments against it, whatever. I really didn't care. I mean, I wanted him to win the title. I was in the building that night. The crowd wanted it, and when it didn't happen, it was definitely a letdown, but I'm not irrational. I don't freak out and just, and quadruple down on everything and die on every fucking hill. Sure, maybe it will work out better for Roman to win. Let's see how it goes. I'm sorry. If things would have been better between WrestleMania and now, and maybe the bloodline hadn't cooled off a bit or anything like that, I could say, okay, I'm glad Roman kept the belt. But when you see everything that went down tonight, all of this could have still been accomplished with Roman losing the title at WrestleMania. That could have still put the bloodline on the trajectory of a complete implosion, and you could have done the entire implosion right here. And if Roman would have been pinned by Cody at WrestleMania and lost the title, then you could have Sammy got the pin tonight, ending that whole issue. And with the bloodline officially crumbling and disbanding for good, all of that could have culminated here instead of, maybe dragging it out to the summer or whatever they're doing. But when Roman beat Cody, I said, okay, let's see how it goes. Let's see if that was the right call. And honestly, I feel like now, looking back in hindsight, it was not. I believe stronger now than I ever have. Because the night of WrestleMania, admittedly, I was speaking more from a fan in the arena. I was there, front and center. That building, 80,000 of us wanted Cody. It didn't happen. So maybe that was just because I was in the moment, I was in the environment, so I didn't freak out. But now, as we've, had a couple of shows after WrestleMania, you look at everything they've done, Cody should have won the title, but that can still happen. We still have Money in the Bank coming up. I feel like WWE is going to let Cody finish this story because he's still got a little bit more to tell with Brock based on the outcome that we saw tonight. And if Cody does go into Money in the Bank, then you've set yourself up again for SummerSlam, or like I've been saying, that July 7th SmackDown in Madison Square Garden, 5 days or 6 days after what's it called? Money in the Bank. Perfect place for Cody to come cash in, unless he cashes in at Money in the Bank itself and on a show that Roman could very well be defending his title against somebody, or maybe even having a tag team match with Solo and Roman against the Usos. That would be a perfect place. Hypothetically, you book Roman and Solo against the Usos in a tag team match. So Roman is off the hook again from defending his titles. But you would also think that Roman, his character, Paul Heyman, would be savvy enough to recognize, if we compete at Money in the Bank, we are leaving ourselves wide open for a cash-in. So the only way Roman could have this match successfully is if it came after the men's Money in the Bank, which it probably will not, or if it came before, the men's Money in the Bank, which it probably will not. Probably will not if it came before, or probably will if it comes before Money in the Bank. So maybe he can get out of there before, the Money in the Bank winner is crowned. But if that match is the main event, like it was tonight at Night of Champions, and you put a big tag team match in the main event again, then you could have Cody come out right in the middle of the final bloodline implosion. Because if it's Roman and Solo against Jimmy and Jay win, and during the course of the match, Solo also turns on Roman, and he's got all three of the bloodline members against him, and they triple super kick and Samoan spike him into the dirt. Adrenaline in my soul. Here comes the Money in the Bank winner out carrying his little green briefcase, lays on top of Roman and wins. But is that how a babyface John Cena, Cody Rhodes type wins championship belts? I don't think so. Cody seems more like the type of character that would call his shot for a specific location, which could be MSG or SummerSlam. So lots to think about, but that's what we saw in the main event. Jimmy Uso super kicking Roman Reigns after the Usos inadvertently super kicked Solo, pissing off Roman. The whole thing led to Roman Reigns and Solo losing that match to Owens and Zayn. And a lot of people were calling for Roman Reigns to be pinned. I saw it on Twitter. Several people were like, oh, it's so obvious. Sammy's going to pin Roman. I'm like, no, it's not. That's not so obvious. I wouldn't necessarily hate that. I'd listen to arguments as to why it's a good idea, but in my heart of hearts, I say no. I think Roman Reigns should not be pinned until he loses that title. You take that pin away from us, it's going to lessen the impact of him actually losing the belts after he's had these titles for so long. Roman should take no pins at all, period, until those belts come off of his waist or his shoulder or whatever. Once that happens, pin him every fucking Friday. I don't care. But that can't happen now. And I'm relieved that in the end, Solo was the one to eat the pin there. I'm not surprised. That's how I would have done it. But there's kind of my thoughts on the main event in a nutshell. We still got to talk about Asuka winning the Raw Women's Championship, or what the fuck is it? The Raw Women's Championship from Bianca Belair in the only match I got wrong. My predictions were nearly perfect. The only one I got incorrectly was Bianca and Asuka. I thought Bianca would retain. She did not, and kind of a surprise finish there. But do you think the reason they did that is so now they can do the stupid belt swap shit without having to gum up or screw up Bianca's title history? Because if they were to change the name of her title in the middle of her run, it's going to put an asterisk by it, fuck it all up. Now that she's not the champion anymore and Rhea's only held the belt for a couple of months, perfect time to get Asuka and Rhea on TV. Here you go. You take my blue one. I'll take your red one. Call it a day. I still hate that they're going to have title belts named after the shows. I think that's fucking stupid because you have to keep doing these belt swaps every time you have a damn draft. But it makes a lot of sense. At least now you don't screw stuff up, and that might have been a Triple H call, but we'll talk about that match later on. Anyway, like I said, this is your WWE Night of Champions 2023 review. Do me a favor, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button on this video. I would really appreciate it. Please consider subscribing as well. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers. Should not take too much longer to be there. We just passed 37,000 last night. So we are on the road to 40. And then after that, we'll be on the road to 50. And then we'll talk about 100. That may never happen, but would appreciate a like, appreciate your subscription. You can become a member. They're open down below. Click the link. All that good jazz. And I will go over here now to the chat, say hello to everybody, knock out any super chats that are here, and then we will start talking about all of these matches, and we're going to begin with Rollins and AJ Styles. This is normally Winged Eagle podcast time. This is the exact same time I come up for our Saturday podcast, so it felt very natural to me, although I got to tell you, I do not like watching pay-per-views at 10 o'clock in the morning. Although I should shut my mouth and stop whining. There are people all over this planet that have to watch wrestling, WWE events at ungodly hours of the day. So for me to have to do it once, twice a year, I need to quit my bitching. I understand that, but I already live on the West Coast. East Coast people are lucky. This show started at 1 o'clock? For me, it was 10 a.m., 9 a.m. for the kickoff. And I don't even have two eyes properly working until 10 a.m. So, or ears for that matter. So I was a little groggy, but I got my act together, watched the show, made my notes, and we're ready to rock and roll. Good to see. Let's just hit some channel members first. Reese Jones, good to see you, my friend. Overall, good show with some great wrestling. I agree. Chaz Medeiros, good to see you. Zach Powell gets in the house. So is Deshaun Robinson and Zane G. Good to see all my members in here. Mike is in the house. The OG JJ Leg, giving it a 7 out of 10, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Zane G, technically it's not a loss. He passed out. No, Zane, technically it is a loss. Maybe morally it's not a loss. Oh, I never got pinned and I never gave up. So morally, I didn't get beat, but technically he did. And in the record books, it will say Brock Lesnar defeats Cody Rhodes. Mike, I think I got you as well. Reese Jones, 9-month member. I think what I would do with Trish and Becky next is bring Lita back in for a tag team match. That's a given. Against Trish and Zoe at Money in the Bank before doing a final blow-off singles rematch at SummerSlam. We're going to talk about that match, Reese, in a minute, but I pretty much feel the exact same way. I put something similar on Twitter, and we talked about Trish and Becky's feud in the past couple of weeks, is WWE would not have gone through the time to draft Trish to Raw if she was just going to be a part-timer, come in for one match or whatever. She's going to be there for the summer, and I felt like her and Becky would have whatever blow-off they're going to have at SummerSlam. Now, with Zoe Stark's involvement, it accomplishes two things. Number one, it's going to kill you some time to get to SummerSlam, to be able to stretch your Trish and Becky blow-off to that show, but also it's going to pay off the Lita thing. Because don't forget, Trish attacked Lita, and I've been wondering why that's the case. I mean, it's the first time in history that somebody has been attacked by their Hall of Fame inductor after they went into the Hall of Fame. That's pretty fucking rare. And why would Trish ruin her relationship, her lifelong bestie relationship with Lita for this? You know, and she admitted to attacking her, but we really never got Lita coming back and trying to get revenge there. And we predicted Trish to win. In the predictions, she did. Zoe Stark helping her out, I think, is going to lead to, yes, Trish and Becky, or I'm sorry, a Lita and Becky against Trish and Zoe Stark tag team match. You could do it on TV, or you could do it at Money in the Bank, but I'd like to see at least two of those women in Money in the Bank, Becky and Trish, or Becky or Trish in Money in the Bank. I think you would have to do. I think it would make more sense for, you know, say Becky to be in Money in the Bank and Trish to cost her that. During Money in the Bank, Trish runs out. Maybe Becky beats Zoe in a qualifying match for Money in the Bank. How about that on Raw? And then you still do the tag somewhere. But I think if Becky qualified for Money in the Bank, Trish did a run-in during the match attacking Becky, costing her the opportunity to win Money in the Bank, and then Becky comes out on TV, you costed me the chance to get my belt back, so I would like to challenge you to a special match at SummerSlam. I can't do Becky's accent. And she challenges Trish to a retirement match. And she's so pissed that Trish took something away from her, she wants to take something away from Trish. And if you are in Trish Stratus's shoes and you want to come back for one more run and have kind of a little send-off retirement program, who better to do it with than, you know, the hottest woman in the company or one of the biggest stars they have. So I could see it going in that direction, but a tag match involving Trish, Lita, Zoe, Becky, definitely going to happen. I think I'd almost prefer it to happen on TV, not Money in the Bank, but we will see. Stone Cold 10X in the house as well. So is Luke McAllister chiming in with 10. Thank you, dude. What's up, Greg? I guess Cody stays strong since he passed out, but it appears that he won't be facing Roman until Mania next year. Not sure what they do with him between now and Rumble. I wouldn't take too much stock in that rumor at all. I've heard the same thing you have. We've all read that, you know, WWE maybe has plans to have Cody and Roman again at WrestleMania 40 or even maybe WrestleMania 41. To me, there's just way too much time in between then. There's way too much storyline going on right now with the Bloodline. 10 months, 11 months is a long time from now. People can get injured. Plans can change. I think having that long term of a plan is almost short-sighted in WWE, in my mind, in WWE. I believe that it's a tough balance when you're booking things, trying to make decisions, but I believe there's got to be a balance between timing things properly and pulling the trigger when the time is right. You know, it's a balance, you know, because you don't want to do things too early, but you don't want to miss an opportunity. And I think that's what the situation WWE finds themselves in right now, is that maybe internally they felt it was too early to do it at WrestleMania 39 with Cody and Roman. If you stretch it out, the payoff will be even greater. But I feel like so far that plan is not working out. And I feel like whenever Cody wins the title now, I don't think it's going to be greater or more triumphant than it would have been at WrestleMania 39. Cody is super over. He was super over with the Saudis here. He's maintained his overness throughout this, but wrestling fans don't have the greatest patience. And I don't know if you want to wait another year, maybe even another 2 years for Cody to finish his story. By then, the fans could have turned on him and you fucked everything up. So you just got to think about when the proper time is and who really knows when that is. But I am not, when I read those reports, I wasn't panicking at all or taking it as fact. Oh, WWE's going to wait till WrestleMania. I still feel very well that Cody's got an excellent chance to go into this fall as WWE champion, either coming out of Money in the Bank, Madison Square Garden, or SummerSlam. That's 3 opportunities I think Cody has to win the title in the next couple of months. And if they don't do any of that, it's going to be surprising. And if Cody just continues to fight these odds, have these programs, we know he's going to have one more battle with Brock. Hopefully that will not take until SummerSlam to get done, but it might happen there, which means if WWE's got Cody and Brock pegged for SummerSlam, that means he's not going to be winning any Money in the Banks and taking on Roman Reigns unless he beats him at Madison Square Garden and then defends the title against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. That would be cool. But again, if that happens, what the fuck does Roman do? Just go away? I don't think that's going to happen either. So there's a lot to be figured out, but I'm not too concerned about those reports yet. I think we need to get into Money in the Bank and try to get an idea what WWE's doing, what direction they're going in, all that jazz, and go from there. Chris Ludek, appreciate it. Is the one save rule in a tag match real? I guess it is. They did something like that tonight, right? Roman made that save kind of last minute, and the ref was like, you get your one save or whatever. I've been watching wrestling for 40 years, and I've never been aware of this one save rule. But apparently it's a thing. So crazy. You never stop learning, do you? I guess, Chris, it is. It's crazy. Good to see Isaac in the chat as well. What's up, dude? The Juliet is here. Alex Bryant, Sonic Plays, Maka International. My boy, Zach, who I was supposed to join on his channel tomorrow for a King of the Ring 98 review, but I forgot it was Memorial Day, so we've rescheduled for next week. But I will be appearing with Zach and Thomas in about a week discussing the 25th anniversary of Mick Foley Peter Panning off the top of the cell. That was crazy. Romans hit 1,000 times for him to drop the belt. I'm starting to get sick of all the records. I don't know about you. Yeah, Zach, I am. However, I'm cool with the 1,001. I'm not sure, however, if I'm cool enough with it, because you were at WrestleMania. I'm not sure if I'm cool enough with it to sacrifice Cody winning to get to that 1,000 days. Right now, it's looking like, to me anyway, that it was not worth it. To do that unless Cody can finish his story in a grand triumphant way and then no harm done at WrestleMania. But I feel like a mistake was made and there's still time to rectify it. But if you keep holding out and you keep inventing these imaginary milestones or these milestones for Roman Reigns to surpass and using that as a reason to not pull the trigger on anybody else, that is not going to last much longer. If Roman wants to go after Hogan's run, he's got to hold it for like another 400 and something days. That's way over another year. I don't see how the fans or anybody for that matter maintains that type of patience in modern times. So now that Roman has hit 1,000, I feel like it's any day. It can be any day. It can be tomorrow or it can be 1 year from now. But now that milestone is done, I don't think there should be any other milestones that WWE should be holding out for. You know what I mean? And even really, his milestone even has an asterisk because he just won the WWE title last year. It's the Universal that's got the milestone. So I feel like WWE probably wishes they could go back in time and put the WWE title on Roman Reigns back in 2020 in the Thunderdome instead of the Universal. But they did what they did, and now they got to stick with it. So I would also still like to see some sort of combination of the two titles, with them combining them into one. I just feel like 2 belts is what you need. Roman with 2 and Seth with 1. I did not like and I rejected the idea that the World Heavyweight title was a consolation belt because I didn't like the way that narrative was being pushed so strongly. But you can't really argue against it when Roman's walking around there carrying 2 fucking belts. So there's a lot they got to rectify and figure out. But with Asuka winning the women's title tonight, I think they might be putting plans in place for that. Deshaun, my friend, what's up? Good to see you. Thank you for covering my WWE Network fee, $9.99. Hey, Greg, rumors are after the opener, Seth immediately left Saudi to head back to the States to continue filming Captain America movie he's a part of. What betrayal was better, Sammy or Jimmy? I think Sammy was better for the moment because you could feel it coming, and it was building. This one was more out of left field, or maybe not I wouldn't say left field at all. I shouldn't say that because Roman's been abusing the shit out of the Usos, but you just didn't expect it to happen like that. That kind of shocked me. I thought the Usos would play a role in Roman and Solo's loss, but I didn't think we'd have the actual implosion right here. And with Jimmy just saying, fuck it, kicking Roman in the face, now you have set in motion things that you can't undo. And that's going to make TV really interesting. So I'm glad that they did that. I did hear about the Seth rumors, but I thought that was weird. I can't remember who said it to me on Twitter. Isaac, it might have been you, because I reacted to, Seth and AJ opening. I'm not sure how I feel about that. And somebody said, well, they probably got his match done quickly so he can just jet out of there and leave and get back to filming the movie. I'm like, well, don't they charter their flight over there? Doesn't everybody fly together? I think there's been a year where maybe Brock got the fuck out of there early because Brock's Brock. But I always thought the talent traveled together. And even if there were movie set duties, they're all the way in Saudi Arabia. You mean to tell me that they've been over there all this time, made this trip? Well, unless Seth and Becky got in late, I guess that's possible. If Seth and Becky did not travel with the talent, they got in late and they left early, then I'll believe those rumors. But if they flew with the talent over there 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever it was, made that trip, did all that shit, you mean to tell me they just can't wait 2 more hours? Like how much longer in between would it really be in the grand scheme of things when you're that far away from the United States and the flight is already long as fuck anyway? What's waiting another 2 hours for the rest of the show to start and you fly back with everybody? I mean, unless he was needed at a specific time and he just barely made it if he got his own flight. I just found that to be odd. Even if he was filming the movie, I feel like WWE's like, no, we need him for this Saudi show. When he's done, we'll send him back to you. But like leaving the show early, it's not like he's in the States. You know, if they're in Chicago and he's just going to hop on a flight to LA to get back to set, he can be there in 3 hours. He's across the planet. He's going to be jet lagged. He's going to need a day to fucking figure everything out anyway. So I kind of wasn't sure unless, I mean, I haven't read any news from Fightful today or any of the websites. So, you know, if anybody credible is reporting this, then I guess that's what happened. But right now, I just think it's rumors. And I think if Seth and Becky left, you know, just 2 hours before the show was over anyway, I don't know what kind of time they're really saving, you know? So I was skeptical, Deshaun, about that rumor. Let me see who's next. Good to see Nikita Abalakin and Michael Kumo in here as well. David Brown, my friend, Ratnick, MH Nova, anybody else that I'm missing. We're doing a lot of shout outs. Very casual review here as we give thoughts, but we are going to go by this card here match by match. I just want to make sure I acknowledge all the people generous enough to donate. Mike, good to see you, man. Appreciate $2 from you. Bianca heel turn coming. Greg is my prediction. I hope so. We're going to talk about Bianca in a minute. Ryan Adams says filming for the movie is already done, so maybe that's the case. I don't know. I don't have the facts. All I'm going to do is go by what you guys tell me, but I did see that rumor about Seth and Becky, and I immediately did not believe it. I'm like, that doesn't seem plausible to me, that they would leave when, you know, they probably aren't going to save much time doing that. But we will see if any story comes out about that. It is interesting that Seth and Becky's match did open the show. They were the first two matches. So, you know, maybe that's where the rumor came from, just by the arbitrary match placement where they happened to be next to each other opening. I can't see them making a trip all the way to Saudi Arabia just to leave as quick as they can. You know, it's just a long trip. It's a big deal. So not buying it right now unless I am proven wrong. That is it for all the shout outs there, at least the super chats. Shell Shock, Willie Haywood, anybody else? Sonic Plays, I'm not sure if I got you. Not another or no other wrestling, another wrestling channel. I'm going to read your comment here. I can say confidently that whatever they would have done with Cody as champion in the main event of the show, it would not have topped this main event. That was awesome. Oh yeah, sure. I believe that Cody should have won at WrestleMania, but that doesn't have to do with the other. This story unfolding in the main event, given and based on the angle, the Bloodline story that's been, you know, the best thing WWE's done in years, and it's been going on for about a year now, longer than that really, but the specifically the Sammy stuff, having this close the show would not have gotten an argument for me. Like if Cody went into tonight as champion, you know, to defend against Brock, and maybe they just did the backlash finish tonight and Cody retained against Brock and it wasn't in the main event, I wouldn't be complaining. I wouldn't say, oh, the title needed to be in the main event or whatever. Like what they did here was great. And I was really happy for Sammy. You know, came out in the traditional garb. He had a big vlog where he ran all around the city and, you know, looked at some of the landmarks all throughout Saudi Arabia. And it was very, very important to him, you know, because the political dynamics between Saudi Arabia and Syria have changed recently, allowing Sammy to, you know, make these trips. And it seems to be very important to him. And Sami Zayn's one of my favorite people in the wrestling business. So just to see him being happy, moved, touched, going through something that's significant to him in his life makes me happy because I like Sami Zayn. And I'm glad that the boy had a good weekend, because not only did he really seem to enjoy himself throughout this time there, but they won in the main event. And that is now 3, count them, 3 main events this year, pay-per-views for Sami Zayn. Not too shabby. Sammy's the man. Sammy's the man. All right, let's get into these results here. Before we Rose Sith, my boy, shout out $10 to my friend. If you can search his YouTube channel right now, I want you to go there and subscribe. He is responsible for some of the music I use and, you know, my intros, the opening bumper here. He's got some great covers that he's been so kind to allow me to use. It's so good to see you in here, Sean. Hope you're having a great Saturday. Are you going to Dynamite on Wednesday? It's here. It's at the Viejas. I'm going. Row 2 seats, hard cam. You should go. Give me a buzz or hit me up on the emails. But let's read Rose's very generous $10 drop comment here. Good to see you, my friend. Seth versus Roman at Survivor Series. Are they going to go back to that champion versus champion thing? I don't know. They usually do champion versus champion, assuming neither lose their belt. should someone else be world heavyweight champion by then. Let's do lunch. I hear you, man. Yeah, I'll be emailing you soon. I don't know if they're going to do champion versus champion because Survivor Series has been War Games, right? So they kind of have finally done away with that, but a lot of that was due to Roman holding 2 belts anyway. So I'm not sure if Survivor Series is going to continue to be War Games and that's the new tradition, or if that was a temporary tradition and now they're going back to this belt or this champion versus champion crap. I hope they don't, honestly. I like the idea of Seth versus Roman. They are talking a lot about Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns right now. Commentators are mentioning it, and it feels like that match could be coming sooner than we think. I still thought this might be a year off, but they seem to be talking about Seth and Roman a lot, and I don't know how you do that unless you do some crazy unification with these 2 fools at SummerSlam, and then the Money in the Bank winner comes in and screws it all up. I don't. You could do something fun like that, but Seth and Roman, that's a match that we're going to see. I guess we're probably going to see it in 2023. I thought it might be a next year thing, but we'll see how Seth plays into, the destruction of the bloodline and all of that. But Seth's going to be on Raw, at least for right now, until, they have a reason to put these 2 in the same, category or universe. But that would be one way to do it if they're not directly feuding with each other and they're on separate brands. You put them in the ring together at Survivor Series, assuming Roman is still champion. That would also be a good spot for Seth and Cody Rhodes, because Seth and Cody still have to pay off their shit. I think Cody owes Seth a job. Lay down for him at some point. So you could do it there too. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to do at Survivor Series, but whenever Seth and Roman clash, I think Seth should beat him. I do. Just to add to Seth's legacy, Roman's legacy is made. Seth is a number 2 to Roman, but he's definitely one of WWE's modern era Hall of Famers. So a big win like that, I'd be into it. Right on. Thanks for chiming in. Let's go back to the results of Night of Champions, or I should say, let's start the result of Night of Champions, because it has been 36 minutes of gum flapping. I know another super chat's rolling in, but we got to start with these. We'll circle back to these after we get through a few of these matches. Like I said, the show opened with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. This was announced on WWE's social media earlier on in the morning, as I was calling it Morning of Champions, because that's what it was for me. But I slept completely through the kickoff show, and I drug my ass in here to my studio just a tiny bit after 10 a.m. To catch the start of Rollins and AJ. This match was exactly what you would expect it to be from these guys. I think maybe that's why this match was made, because it was just going to be a high quality match that you guarantee will be good. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles could, walk in there with their heads up their asses and they'd still have a good match. So they were going to deliver here regardless of the age of AJ. He can still perform. Seth is Seth. You're guaranteed to have a banger here, right? So maybe that's it's the simplicity of that. Maybe that's just, Triple H's vision. We're creating this new title. We're crowning its first champion. It's the World Heavyweight Championship. This lineage, technically, if you want to get cute, can be traced way, way, way down the line. And I did hear rumors, or we heard rumors. I don't know if they're confirmed, but I guess we could probably check on WWE's website or some of the title histories. But I think this is not a brand new title lineage or history starting from the beginning with Seth Rollins. I think it's going to continue from where it left off when Cena and Orton unified them in 2013, right? So apparently Seth Rollins will not be the first holder of this. It's going to be considered the World Heavyweight Championship of old. It just has a new belt design. And I'm getting used to the belt design because I'm just so sick of those big WWE belts, and at least this WWE logo is a little smaller. It kind of resembles the old Big Gold. We knew we weren't going to get an exact replica of the Big Gold, but I guess this is as close as WWE's willing to get to giving us any sort of a throwback. So, maybe they're waiting for Cody to beat Roman for the titles so they can present him with one championship belt that represents both. And it could be a redesign of the Winged Eagle. I would not rule that out yet. but I do like the belt. And maybe that's what Triple H's intent here was, just to start off this championship with a good match between two Hall of Famers. And that's it. There was really nothing else to it other than that. And Rollins came out, big ovation, loved his outfit, crowd loved singing his songs. He's over. And him and AJ had a heck of a match here. Really no complaints with it. Exactly what I would expect from these guys. We've seen them wrestle for championships before throughout the years. They always tear it up. They did here. And in the end, it is Rollins hitting the stomp on AJ Styles for the win. And Triple H was present to present the belt to Seth Rollins. So I did like that, because Triple H was also in the ring with Seth and Dusty when Rollins won the NXT title for the first time. So him recreating that here, he was the person I had on my radar from day one. From the minute that this belt was unveiled, I said, Seth's our guy. He's the perfect guy to be at the top of that lineage. He's over right now. He's got the best resume, and he's, honestly, the most deserving. He had a hell of a year last year, putting Cody over in those 3 matches, and wrestled and stayed healthy and wrestled at a high level, and, has changed his character up, to a degree where he's a complete polar opposite of who he was, 4 years ago, even, the burn it down, regular Seth Rollins. It's almost hard to imagine normal speaking, boring Seth Rollins into a microphone. Now he's an obnoxious maniac, and it's beautiful. He's gorgeous. Love him. And I love that him and Becky Lynch can just share a closet. Hey, babe, can I borrow your blouse? Sure. Go ahead. Oh, they're great. Love Seth Rollins. He wins. I'm happy. He's who I predicted right from the start. I would have been fine with AJ Styles winning, but what sense would that have made to put the SmackDown guy, have him win this Raw belt when you already have the Raw champion on SmackDown, SmackDown champion on Raw in the women's division, and now you're going to have a SmackDown guy win the belt that you just said out loud is going to be a Raw exclusive belt. I was going to, I got no hair to pull out. I probably just wouldn't be yanking the eyebrows out, because I just wouldn't have been able to handle it. So Rollins was the guy. He wins. Great. We will see what he does. Who's his first challenger going to be? I think with Brock, what we saw with Brock and Cody, and we'll talk about later, that's going to kind of keep Cody out of the picture for now, which is another reason maybe they're doing the arm injury thing, because otherwise, if Cody was completely healthy and he beat Brock here at Night of Champions, wouldn't you think he'd be the first guy coming out to confront Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw? So with Cody losing now and with his arm being all fucked up, he's not going to be in the picture, at least right now. He'll probably have his focus set on the Money in the Bank. So that's what I'm hoping for Cody. We'll see what happens there. Next matchup is Seth's wife, Becky, taking on Trish Stratus. This was great. I loved, because the women, have to dress, can't have any, really be revealing in their gear when they're over there. So they usually get pretty creative with some of these, with some of the gear now, because at first I think it was just like a t-shirt over top the regular gear, and it was just kind of bland looking, but now they're coming up with some cool stuff here. Trish Stratus came out looking great. She had gear that kind of resembled what she wore in her main event Raw match with with Lita all those years ago, just a little bit less revealing, just like all black with the pink streak down the side. And then Becky comes out here looking like Uma Thurman, about to kill her some bills, and she looked really good, kind of almost a reverse of what she wore at WrestleMania 35. Again, just a lot less revealing, and I liked the gear on both women. Match wasn't bad either. I wasn't sure. I thought it would be clunky and kind of sloppy, but, Trish, when she wants to turn it on, and that girl, when she knows when she's on pay-per-view, and a lot of her moves and movements in the ring just seem so much crisper and stuff. I mean, this match still wasn't the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't bad. And I was pretty happy with how it went. And we picked Trish Stratus in the predictions because this feels like it's going to be a summer-long feud. They're not going to bring Trish in just for this, and it all ends right here. They drafted her to Raw. She seems to be around, here for the short term, and it feels like she's probably here for the summer. And if she was ever going to do some sort of career match or retirement match, what better star to do it against than one of your most over women's wrestler you have in the company? If that's something that's on Trish's radar, one final swan song. She had the great match with Charlotte a couple years ago, which I loved. And, now coming back and doing one more thing with Becky, unless this is something Trish wants to continue to do, for a few more years. Otherwise, this seems like a perfect, cherry on top to your wrestling career, coming back after you've had your family and done all of that, being able to come and work at a high level and then, call it a day, I think would be excellent and an excellent way for Trish to hang it up. But maybe she's not going to hang it up. Who knows? All I knew was that Trish and Becky were going to battle again after Night of Champions. There was no doubt about it. So we knew we were going to get another match. We were probably even going to get 2 matches. What I didn't see coming is having Trish have some help. I figured Trish would cheat or do something heelish to win, but I didn't even consider that she would have some backup. And Zoe Stark was hiding underneath the ring, and she comes out while Trish has the referee distracted, and she hits Becky with whatever her GTS finisher type of thing is here, and caught her pretty good, caught her for real in the face. Looked like she bloodied the nose of Becky Lynch pretty good. Becky was covered in blood and threw Becky back in the ring. Stratus faction for the win. And Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark have joined forces, and Zoe is a pretty good person to have. I'm happy for Zoe because I've always been a fan of hers ever since I saw her in NXT. I'm like, she's a little pit bull. There's just something about her I like. She's very, very good in the ring, and she's strong. And I just, for somebody who's not as big, she's still got an intimidating factor to her. And I've just been really drawn to Zoe Stark. I just like, her working style. So this is great for her because now this gives her a Trish Stratus rub. You talk about some rub, you get to, be able to associate on TV with this Hall of Famer. That's great for your career. I can't think of a better place for Zoe Stark, a better opportunity or storyline for her right now for her success in WWE is being able to have this alliance with Trish, because this could very well be what launches her, and sets her apart and gets her noticed to where she just doesn't become, in the mix there with the Raquels and the Livs and the Nikki Crosses who just don't do anything. So Zoe hanging out with Trish now is awesome because now this accomplishes a couple of things. Number one, it's going to be able to pay off Lita, because don't forget, Trish was the one who attacked Lita and then admitted it, and we haven't even seen Lita come back. And I always found that to be odd that Trish and Lita would end this bestie-ship that they've had for so many years, and this would all come to an end because of some feud with Becky. So now with Trish aligning with Zoe Stark, that means we're going to get a tag. So it's going to be Trish and Zoe taking on Becky and Lita. They can either I'd rather them just do that on Raw. I mean, there's 3 hours of this shit every week. It doesn't need to be all filler. You can book an attraction match every now and then, and I think that would be a great main event. Trish and Zoe against Lita and what's her name? Becky. Why not, right? Do it on TV. F Money in the Bank. I think a better scenario would be for Becky to take on Zoe Stark on Raw in a Money in the Bank qualifier. Becky wins, qualifies for Money in the Bank, and then you do that tag with Lita and Becky against Trish and Zoe on Raw at some point, and then Becky is in Money in the Bank. She's about to climb the ladder and win when Trish shows up, who's not in the match. Trish does a run-in, costs Becky Lynch an opportunity to get the briefcase. Somebody else wins it. And then Becky's so pissed off on the next TV, she challenges Trish to a retirement match at SummerSlam. And there you go. Nice little bow on it and everything. But we'll see what direction they go in. That's where I see it going. Or that's where I think it would be fun to see it go. Gunther defending his Intercontinental Championship against Ali. I thought just Ali being in Saudi Arabia, knowing that he was going to be pretty well received by the audience, and much like Sami Zayn, it was probably going to be a special trip for him too. And they did touch on that a lot. They showed, much like Zayn, they showed a lot of the landmarks and places that Ali visited while he was there. But realistically, I mean, this is Gunther. He's as dominant as anyone is in the WWE, other than perhaps Roman Reigns, actually more so, because Gunther usually doesn't need a whole lot of help winning his matches, where Roman Reigns does. And they mentioned during his entrance, Michael Cole said only 2 men have held the Intercontinental title longer than Gunther, and that is Honky Tonk Man and Randy Macho Man Savage. That's some incredible company, because Savage held it about a year, maybe a little bit more, and Honky held it just a little bit longer than that. So the current date, I believe, if my math is correct, I believe is September 8th or September 7th, one of those days. So now we're closer. I've been talking about this September 8th date ever since before WrestleMania, before he went into WrestleMania with Drew and Sheamus, I said, hey, if you want to keep him rolling, September's not that far away. Now we're even closer. We're just, about 3 more months away from, just a little bit more than that, from him surpassing Honky Tonk Man. And at this point, I would do it. Who's he going to run into between now and then that would be worth doing it before, Because you can make an argument for anybody to take the title off of him, but now you're so close to this record. Some people don't give a shit about the record. I even at one point was curious if WWE cared about the record at all. It seems like they're aware of it now. I don't know if they were aware of it back before WrestleMania, because you didn't hear them talking about how long his run was or anything like that. But I was like, he's dominant as hell on TV and all of pay-per-views and title defenses. Why not him? I mean, to have somebody like the Honky Tonk Man as your longest running Intercontinental Champion ever for all of these years is a little bit silly. I can't think of anybody better to be the new record holder than Gunther. He's such a badass. Have you seen the picture of this guy like on a boat with his cigar and his sunglasses? What a goddamn stud. My God. It's like James Bond, this guy. I mean, I love, love, love Gunther. If you ask me, I don't want him to drop the Intercontinental Championship at all. I think he should get a world championship shot while he's Intercontinental Champion, but and maybe that's what they're going to do. They're going to have to book Gunther and Seth. Maybe that's SummerSlam. And if you do that, that means Gunther's title isn't going to be on the line. But then you run the risk of having to beat Gunther. And I don't know if you want to do that. I'd probably hold Gunther off for a WrestleMania or have him win the Rumble or something like that. But again, they're in a situation with Gunther, a lot like Cody, is you just have to decide when the time is right. Don't wait too long, but also balance that with, picking the right time. Don't blow your load too quick, but don't wait forever and then blue ball us. There's so many factors, and I just hope whatever they wind up doing with Gunther and his future, because you can pretty much guarantee now with this Intercontinental title run, whenever it comes to an end, he will be in the world title mix. I would think he'll be no lower on the card than where Drew McIntyre is from this point forward, I would assume, right? So I just hope that it goes as well as possible for him. I hope he can stay healthy. It's important to stay injury-free. Hopefully he doesn't break anything or need to take a year off or anything like that. If he stays healthy, stays dominant, I think the sky's the limit for Gunther. And him losing the title here to Ali, I thought perhaps if they wanted to do something really crazy and have just a crazy fluke win for Ali where he actually wins the title, but it doesn't really hurt Gunther. It protects him in some crazy-ass fluke finish. Maybe gets struck by lightning on the way to the ring and he doesn't know where he is and he pisses his pants, and then Ali, is able to pin him and Gunther doesn't even know what happened. Who knows? But I thought, maybe if they wanted to do that, they could at least get the title off of Gunther so they could push him towards a world championship. But I didn't really believe in my heart of hearts that was going to happen. Ali had a little flurry here, a bunch of flurries. He had Gunther on the ropes a couple of times. Not really, maybe one near fall he had on him, but for the most part, Gunther was kicking out at 1.5 or just after 2. And he was, able to fend off any sort of swarms of offense from Ali. Ended up catching him, hitting him with a pretty strong ass power bomb, putting him down emphatically for the win. No real surprise there. We knew Gunther would win. We knew Ali would give him a decent little match. I thought maybe Ali could take him to the limit or something like that and really give a good showing here, even though I think Ali did have a good showing. He didn't, he didn't have the Benoit versus Angle at Royal Rumble 2003 performance here. But Gunther continued to roll. That was the only way that match could have gone. I mean, Gunther, he's the man, right? In the only match I got wrong in my predictions was up next, Bianca Belair defending the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka. Now, we saw this match at WrestleMania. I predicted Bianca to win there, and then Asuka turned heel. So normally, had Bianca not been a champion with a run as long as she's had, I would have picked Asuka in this situation. I would be like, my logic and thinking behind it would be, they just turned her heel. She already lost to this woman at WrestleMania. Now they just turned her heel just to lose her to her again. That doesn't seem right. That's normally how I would think about this. But Bianca has been champion for so long. And it's surpassed a year now. And sure, I think you could take this belt off of her pretty much at any time. But for some reason, I just wasn't vibing this one. It just didn't feel like it was going to happen. And it did. And I got to say, I'm pleasantly surprised. Bianca, I love. She's great. She's an excellent character and wrestler for WWE. She is an inspiration to a lot of young kids, specifically little girls. She does a lot for WWE, a lot of promotional work. She is super valuable as a babyface. But at some point, you got to do something different with her. And it's been just a lot of the same stuff. Bianca hasn't changed at all. She has been Tito Santana ever since she's been in the company, just the same damn thing every day. Well, maybe Tito Santana is an interesting comparison, but I'm just talking about somebody who just kind of stays the same all the time. Yes, her gear is great. She's gorgeous. She's got awesome, ring gear and outfits and everything. She just looks like $1 trillion. She is a star, but beyond that, it's the hair twirl and the entrance and the promo. She's, kind of like John Cena, to where they realized how valuable he was to that section of the market. And they're just going to ride with that indefinitely. And that will grow tiresome, because even though Bianca's been a great champion, she is a stud in the ring, ridiculously strong, athletic. I love all of her work inside the ring, but it's her, it's her character, and it's her character's motivation. It's her feuds, it's her angles that have been lukewarm, not a lot of heat to them. And I think that but Bianca is a great performer and a great pro wrestler, and given the right material, could probably be even 10 times better and greater than she already is. And I've always said that when the day the braid gets cut off or comes off, and the day that she realizes that she's a killer, and the day that something pisses her off or something turns her into the orca that's sinking boats in Europe, and she decides to start taking what she wants, like Rhea Ripley is doing. That's going to be a dangerous woman, and that's going to be super fun to see happen. But I'm worried that WWE is going to make us wait forever for that to happen, And I don't want to see that, to where poor Bianca, starts getting turned on by the audience, and because what'll happen is when audiences start to turn on you, or they get tired of you or grow stale due to your booking, they can't keep their emotions within those confines. Then they start attacking you personally. We saw all this with Cena. We saw all this with Roman. They're cancers. They should die. The wrestling be better off without them. Emotions running wild, and fans not being able to ever manage that. So Bianca just, I think, works too hard and is too good of a performer and does not deserve that treatment. But if she gets it, it's going to be because of WWE and it's going to be because of how they do things. So maybe this is the beginning of Bianca perhaps going heel at some point. I still feel like WWE is going to keep her like this for about another year before it clicks in their head, like a light bulb will go off that, oh shit, maybe we should make better use of this, magnificent specimen we have on our roster, who's fantastic. Who knows how long it'll take them to figure that out. But she dropped the title here, maybe so she could turn heel in the future, or maybe so they could do a belt swap. And I have a feeling that's probably one of the reasons. So there was an interesting finish here. Of course, we know Asuka has the mist, and she goes for the mist. By the way, shout out, both women look great. Bianca was in all white jumpsuit there, and Asuka kind of had, I don't know if it was a cosplay of any kind. I didn't recognize it because I'm not good with superhero movies and animation and shit like that. So I don't know if it was a tribute or reference to anything. But she kind of had like a clown gimmick on. I don't know how to describe it, but it looked really good. Both women looked fantastic. So Asuka at one point goes for the mist, and I think Bianca ducks it, so she misses it. And then while the referee, Jessica Carr, by the way, she's distracted with Bianca, Asuka has more mist, and she's kind of leaning over the bottom rope over the apron, and she starts spitting the mist in her hand and spitting it and just covering her hand in the mist. And so then Bianca comes over and grabs her, picks her up for the KOD, and then Asuka wipes the mist in Bianca's face. And of course, Bianca could probably do a better job of acting with some of this stuff with, I know if you got like a jalapeno juice in your eye, it would hurt, but would you really scream like that? So she's like, she's screaming, selling, making it extremely obvious that her eyes hurt. We know that. And Asuka capitalizes on that. I think she hit her with a knee to the back of the head. I don't know what she did to her. Knocked Bianca down with a move, pinned her, and won the championship. And I was surprised. I did not see that coming. I should have seen it coming. I mean, logically, it makes sense. If you're going to turn someone heel and give them kind of a fresh start, just have them just lose the match again that they just lost last month. Why would you do that? But WWE does a lot of perplexing things sometimes. And since I thought Bianca was still just going to continue on this run, I think my problem is that I was thinking that, when you have a run as long as Bianca's, it needs to be a big deal when she drops the title. And I just didn't think there was enough heat in this feud to where Asuka winning was going to, maybe was going to be as good as it could be. Bianca losing after a long run, I thought should be the main event of a show or higher up on the card. I don't know what I was thinking or what I was imagining, but for some reason, my brain wasn't allowing me to think that this was an option. And of course, I was wrong. Asuka got the win, is the new, Raw Women's Champion, and she is on SmackDown now. And like I said in the beginning of the show, I think one of the main reasons they might have done this is so now they can do their belt swap, because WWE they can't be sitting back there not thinking that having the Raw and SmackDown titles on the opposite shows is stupid when you just did a draft. You got to figure that out. So we have been wondering if they're going to be debuting new championships and renaming the championships, and what are they going to do? They don't want to do a belt swap because then you're going to kind of screw up Bianca Belair's championship history. There's going to be an asterisk in there. There's going to be a belt name change in the middle of this long run. Maybe they didn't want to do that to her. Now that Asuka has won the title, what does it matter? You can just go right on Raw on Monday or whenever with Rhea Ripley and Asuka, and you do the swap and you're done. And I just wish we would eventually get to a point where we never have to worry about a belt swap happening. But the only match I predicted wrong was that one, and Asuka is your new Raw Women's Champion, at least for the next couple of days until she becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. Probably my favorite match of the night. Up next, Rhea Ripley defending her SmackDown Women's title against Natalya. Now, we know, I even joked, I think I said some ridiculous percentage on the predictions, negative 10,000%. That's not even a number that exists, I don't think. But there was no way Natalya was going to win this. And anything less than a squash, I think, would have been too long. And that's exactly what we got. We actually got a squash. Rhea killed her. Natalya's awesome. She came out there. She's such a sport. She did a Make-A-Wish thing. I think it's the first ever Make-A-Wish they did in Saudi Arabia. She was a part of that. Her entrance, she came down and took selfies with as many little kids as she possibly could. And then gave her glasses away. And Rhea comes out with Dominic. Dominic looks awesome as always. And once the match starts, by the way, Rhea is in all black. She almost looked like Edward Scissorhands. I don't know why I thought of that, but she kind of looked like Edward Scissorhands without the scissor hands. And Natalya came out in something pretty similar that she's worn before on these Saudi shows. And I don't know what the match time was, but I would think it was a minute, maybe a little bit less. And Rhea put Natalya down pretty quickly with the riptide there, pinned her confidently, and retained her SmackDown Women's title. And they cut to a few faces in the crowd that were surprised, like, whoa, that was really fast. And I was like, hell yeah, that's how fast it should be. Rhea should not really have to break much of a sweat to beat Natalya. And then it's time for Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. Of course, Brock got his hands on Cody on Monday, injuring his arm. WWE then went on to report that Cody broke his arm, suffered a broken arm. And a lot of the cynics, I saw a lot of the same kind of opinions on Twitter. Oh, it's so obvious what they're doing. They're going to put all these obstacles in front of Cody, and then he's going to beat Brock Lesnar with a broken arm. And I'm like, well, what sense would that make? You got a couple of big shows on the horizon. You got Money in the Bank coming up. You've got SummerSlam. Cody just won the last match against Brock. Why would you think that this is all going to lead to Cody winning? This is what they're probably doing, is protecting Cody. So when he loses to Brock, it's not the same thing because he had the injured arm and all of that. So I saw it the opposite way. I'm like, this tells me that that we're either not going to have a match at Night of Champions, or maybe it's going to be more of a street fight or a match that never gets underway. They just make their entrances, the bell never rings, and they just fight for a while until some guy takes a bump off stage. Didn't they do that with like Lashley and Goldberg or something similar? So I thought they could do anything here. But if it was going to be a match and we were going to get a match with a bell ringing and a winner and a loser, I thought it had to be Brock here, because you have to have another match. You've got to have another one based on how Cody won. And now he's going into this match injured. I don't think, I mean, you could have Cody win up 2-0, but then he's beaten Brock while he's injured. You have nowhere to go. You have Brock winning. Um, then you can do the blow off at Money in the Bank, at SummerSlam. You're going to have to do it somewhere. There's going to be a blow off with Cody and Brock. We know that for sure. And maybe if Cody wins the Money in the Bank, he doesn't cash it in right away. I've been talking about that Madison Square Garden show that's only like 6 days after Money in the Bank. A lot of fans have been talking about SummerSlam, but what if Cody wins the Money in the Bank and just holds it? Then he could finish his feud with Brock. He can go into SummerSlam and have his blow off with Brock as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. So that could happen. He also has the arm thing now, so that could keep him off of TV, or at least in any angles right now, and allowing them to stretch their issue with Brock, but then maybe Cody is going to keep this titanium cast on and try to qualify for Money in the Bank, which I'm sure we're going to start getting qualifying matches right away on TV. So that could be coming up soon. But I felt like Brock had to win this just so you can keep going with this and have your one more match between these guys, because that's what you're going to have. So we called the exact finish in the predictions. I said what they're probably going to do, since Cody's got the broken arm, is if Triple H allows Cody to wrestle and he's cleared and doctors say, okay, you can wrestle with a broken arm, and then Brock locks in that Kimura lock, it'll just be Brett and Austin. At WrestleMania 13, it'll just be Cody passing out. And that's exactly the finish we got. However, this match was really good. Cody came out with a cast. They kept mentioning that it was a titanium cast. So the same shit Luger had in his arm was wrapped around Cody's entire arm. And he was using it as a weapon. Once he realized he could use it as a weapon and it was stunning and hurting Brock a lot, he kept with it. And the titanium cast became a big part of this match. And Brock was Brock is such a specimen. How is it that this guy looks better physically than he did 11 years ago when he returned? My God, he's so big, so strong. And Brock, even though he's been, losing some matches in the last year or so, he's still Brock. He will always carry that weight with his name. And that's what I've said for so long. Once he beat the streak and went on that run, I'm like, he's a made man now. Now he can come back, and when he starts giving back, all the fans, oh, Brock always wins. I'm like, just wait. Eventually he's going to give back. And when it does, and when he does, his name is really going to help lift up, others when they beat him. He's, Roman Reigns now is a made man, and we've seen what Seth Rollins, wins over Brock has done for Seth Rollins' career, and now Cody Rhodes being able to eventually probably win his program, because now I believe whenever the blow off happens between Cody and Brock, Cody will win. So, that all worked out in the story of the match here for the future. So it was just a matter of them getting to the finish, Cody fighting hard, Brock, showing surprise at times during the match at how hard Cody was fighting. Seemed, to be, a little bit on edge and realizing that he's got a tough task here. So Brock kind of, I think Cody's earned Brock's respect throughout the course of all this stuff. Even in the two matches, I think Brock has walked away with this with a respect for Cody. And I think that's another part of the point here. So that was all good. And the match was way more entertaining than I kind of thought. I thought it was going to be just some sort of story of a Brock beatdown, but Cody being able to fight back to the degree that he did, turned this thing into a really good match. And he almost had Brock beat a couple of times, hit him with a few crossroads that, at one point I thought was going to be the finish. Brock hit an F5 on Cody, took too long to cover. Cody kicked out. So there were, Brock survived crossroads, Cody survived F5s. And in the end, after a couple attempts at the Kimura lock, Brock locks it in. And Cody's got really nowhere to go. Camera's kind of focused on his face. Really good facial expressions by both guys, with Brock cinching up and Cody, reaching for the ropes. And eventually Cody just kind of slumps. Referee checks his arms. He's out. He has no choice to ring the bell. And that's going to be a victory for Brock Lesnar over Cody Rhodes. But it's a finish that we kind of predicted as well, because I didn't think Cody would maybe be pinned here. I think more likely would be a pass out type of finish. That's just what they did. It worked out perfectly. And now you can run this back. It's just a matter of, when does the blow off happen? Is Cody going to heel first before this happens? Like I said, I really want Cody to be in the Money in the Bank. And I think maybe the idea of Cody winning the Money in the Bank made us automatically assume that if he won Money in the Bank, then, oh, it's going to be a SummerSlam cash-in. And that made me wonder, well, then where do you do the Brock and Cody blow off? If it's going to be a cash-in and he's going to face Roman at SummerSlam, then how do you pay off Brock? Where do you do that? You can't do it at Money in the Bank because Cody's going to be in Money in the Bank, in the Money in the Bank match, unless he does double duty, which I guess isn't out of the question, but probably unlikely. So if it's not going to be at Money in the Bank and it's going to be in SummerSlam, then what do? Maybe Cody just wins the damn briefcase and he doesn't cash it in at all for the rest of the summer. And maybe this is a match we get at WrestleMania. Maybe that's the story Cody wants to finish, because it was at WrestleMania just this year where he was robbed of that championship in the main event. So maybe finishing the story for Cody isn't a matter of just winning the title from Roman Reigns, being able to win it in the main event of WrestleMania like he intended, and Roman stole it from him. And by next year at WrestleMania 40, with the bloodline gone and Roman by himself, he's got nowhere to go, nobody to help him. He's got no choice but to face Cody Rhodes one-on-one, and you have the match and Cody beats him, wins the title, finishes the story. On paper, that sounds great, but that's still nearly another year away. You got a long way to go until then. That also means, in theory, that Roman's going to have to hold these titles another year. And like I said earlier, fans, Cody's over, but the fans are fickle and they'll turn on you, man. And I'd hate to see Cody go into a WrestleMania match that's predictable in a stage now in his run where the fans are like tired of him. And then you're going to belt him. Sure, it finishes the story, but what does it really do for Cody in his future now that fans are kind of, we get it. We've seen Cody back for a couple of years now. It's no longer new and fresh and special, and you waited so damn long to put the title on him. Now we're kind of sick of him. You run the risk of that happening. It's it's a very real possibility. So you just got to make sure you time it right. But I think if you can have your cake and eat it too here this summer, you could have Cody win Money in the Bank and then still have his payoff with Brock. He just doesn't cash in Money in the Bank right away. He waits, and Roman figures out his deal with the bloodline or whatever, and we go into the fall and late summer. We'll have to see. But Brock gets the win here. We know these guys will meet again. I'm sure Cody will be on Raw to have something to say about this, and maybe they'll waste no time and set up the blow off right there. We will have to see. But I hope it's not another attack type of deal. I don't know what we're going to see on Monday between these two guys. No idea. That leaves us now with the main event. Last thing to talk about, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens defending their SmackDown and Raw undisputed, unified Walmart tag team championships, whatever you call them, against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Great main event here. Looking back now, I have no issue with this match being in the main event. I, felt the way I felt about the World Heavyweight title, but this story probably should be the last thing we see given what they had in store for us here. And in our predictions, I did not see WWE putting 4 title belts on Roman Reigns. Unless they just wanted to get that photo op for whatever reason, I thought that would have been way too much. You should let Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have a run with these belts a little bit longer than this. And I felt like there was way more story to tell with Roman and Solo losing, especially if the Usos play a role, which we knew they would. We knew the Usos would be a part of this thing. They would interfere and either on purpose or inadvertently cost Roman and Solo the match. So that's what we were pretty much waiting for. It was great to see Roman and Solo come out first. So the very last WWE star to come out and make an entrance was Sami Zayn. That was great. Came out in the traditional garb there. And, he visited all over Saudi Arabia in his vlog and all the landmarks. And he had a trip over there that really appeared to be very special to him. This was a special entrance and occasion for him. He was warmly received by the audience. This was all very cool. And seeing where, how that was all set up in the main event, I'm like, oh yeah, this does make the most sense. And shout out to Sami Zayn main eventing his 3rd pay-per-view of this year, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania, and now Night of Champions. That's pretty decent, not too shab for Sami Zayn. So we get the entrances here. We get the introductions. Paul Heyman makes the introduction for Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn in Arabic does the introductions for him and Kevin Owens, which was really fucking awesome. So now it is time for the match, and Roman, doing his Roman stuff, talking up the crowd and, just being an asshole. And we get a lot of good moments in this match. I really liked, even though it doesn't make much sense, I really liked the stunner that Roman took that bounced him back into the second rope, and then he came back and hit Owens with an awesome spear. We had a couple really, really close near falls here, including that save by Roman Reigns where, they mentioned the one save rule is something I wasn't even aware of existed. And I've been watching wrestling for 40 years. I don't know where this came from and how I slept through that rule, but apparently that's a thing. And between the near falls and the match we got, that was all good, but we were waiting for the climax. So sure enough, referee takes a bump, gets speared by Roman Reigns. Here we go. Where are the Usos, right? A couple seconds later, they show up and they start attacking Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And you could tell instantly, and I knew my prediction was going to come true as soon as they got in the ring, because the positioning of everybody, I think they had Owens in there. I think it was Usos who had Owens in the ring, but just the position of Solo, who was kind of selling right in the middle of the ring. And I was like, oh, he's going to get, and you can see him kind of stirring and getting to his feet a little bit. And I'm like, oh, he's going to get to his feet at the same time that the Usos try to hit Owens, and he's going to duck and all that. I think it was Owens, might have been Zayn. Forgot who was in there. And sure enough, they go to double super kick. I think Owens, he moves, double super kick to Solo. He goes down. Roman Reigns sees all of this. He freaks out. He's yelling at both guys. What the fuck are you doing? And he pie faces Jimmy Uso, and then he gets in Jay's face and tells him to get out of the ring, shoves him again really hard by the face, shoves Jay, just pure abuse right into the top rope. And then as soon as he turns around, bam, super kick from Jimmy, takes Roman's head off. He goes down, crowd shits themselves. Jay doesn't know what to do. Same look on his face when Sami Zayn hit Roman with the chair at the Royal Rumble. Like, oh shit, I don't know if I like this or not, he's just so conflicted, poor guy. And Jimmy is like, I'm your brother, man. I would never do that to you. I would never treat you like that. Enough of this. I've been trying to tell you. And Roman starts to get up, and Jimmy kicks him again, knocks him down twice. Fucking great. They leave. Jimmy is defiant. He's like, yeah, fuck you, Roman. Enough of this. It's over. Jimmy is scared as they're leaving. And Roman, of course, is knocked out. Solo is now returning from his double super kick that he ate from his brothers. And he then eats a stunner into a haluva kick. Sammy pins Solo for the win. Right call there. I saw way too many people on Twitter saying that Roman should get pinned by Sami Zayn here. Yes, that would be great for the crowd and everything, but man, you do not pin Roman Reigns until he loses those titles. That pin needs to also be in conjuncture with those belts coming off of him. And if you do it before, you lessen the impact of that. So I was not in favor of that being an option. Luckily, it was not. Solo was pinned. Owens and Sammy retain, and now the Bloodline have some problems, and the Usos have got some explaining to do, or not even explaining. Now they've set in motion something they can't come back from. Jimmy has now kicked Roman Reigns. He's not going to forgive him and allow him back in. What he's probably going to do is make Jay choose. It's me or them type of thing, because Jay did not participate in the beatdown of Roman, but he did participate in screwing Roman out of the titles. So we'll see what Jay's demeanor is on TV. And if Sammy is going to try to have another conversation with him, that Owens doesn't seem to like when Sammy does that, but maybe Sammy is going to approach Jay and be like, it's happening. Haven't I been telling you this, bro? Come on. I'm here for you. If you decide to tell your tribal chief to go fuck himself, we'll be here. We got your back. Just let us know, type of thing. And then maybe Roman puts him in a position to make a decision, and that happens on TV as early as this week. Or, maybe this is something that's stretched to Money in the Bank. Maybe it's a Roman and Solo against Usos tag match at Money in the Bank, or maybe even on TV, Roman might defend the title against Jimmy Uso. He had a title defense against Jay a couple years ago. So maybe it's Jimmy's turn. I don't know. But eventually, we know this is going to lead to Roman being by himself. Solo is going to find himself in a position where he's going to have to choose between his brothers and Roman. And I feel like based on Solo's body language, because he only really speaks with his body and his face, and he doesn't tell us much, but he subtly tells us some things. And I think when push comes to shove, he's not going to do Roman's bidding. Even though Roman has not abused Solo to the degree of what he's done to the Usos. As a matter of fact, he even looks a little bit fearful of Solo. But I don't think that Solo is going to allow Roman maybe to do what he did to the Usos, because we've seen Roman do a couple of things like the title belt thing last night on SmackDown, but in terms of just flat out abuse, verbal abuse, or anything like that to Solo, he hasn't tried that shit with him yet. And when he does, it'll be interesting to see, if Solo shoves both those belts up his ass. So I'm ready to see that. It's interesting. It's still keeping me. I feel like it dropped off a little bit after WrestleMania, but I still feel like this is a very compelling story, and I'm still excited to see how it goes. And I think I was always under the assumption, and it can probably still be this way, but I was always under the assumption that the final blow that kills the bloodline, when it's officially over for Roman and he's officially by himself, is going to coincide with him losing the titles. Like, it's either going to happen in the match or it's going to happen right before the match, maybe on the TV or on the go home. Roman loses everybody, forced to go in there as a man and fight, and he loses. Something like that. Or it all happens in the match. Or if it's one guy leaving Roman at a time, maybe first it's Jimmy, and then Jay is going to end up siding with Jimmy, and then that's going to leave Solo. And since Solo ate a double super kick from his brothers, maybe the fans are going to assume, of course, Solo's going to stay with Roman. He's been loyal all this time. And then Solo's like, Samoan Spike, bitch. And he joins with the Usos. So it depends on how they set this up, what they have planned for it, when they plan to execute these parts of the storyline, whether it be on TV or pay-per-view, in a match, in a promo, whatever. A lot to be figured out, but hopefully it's a ride that we all enjoy. So overall, I got to say, a Night of Champions, not a bad show. Only 3 hours. It wasn't too long. Wasn't overbooked. 7 matches. Pretty quick, easy watch, even though it was the morning for me. And all in all, not bad. So I'll give it a 7.4 out of 10. That's my grade. All right, let's cruise to the chat, knock out any other super chats that have been coming in. Ask you guys to please hit the thumbs up button. Give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. If you are not a subscriber, would love your subscription. If you would consider it, you will like it here. I promise. We're cool. And we're not buttholes or anything. All right, let's get to these super chats, and then I have got to roll because I have a bottom of the hour curfew, so we got about 10 minutes. And I got to wrap things up here. Let's say hi to JB. Appreciate that 5 from you, my friend. Have to be honest, I'm really disappointed they ended Belair's historic title reign just like that, with little build or fanfare. Seems wasteful. That's why I picked her to win. I was trying to kind of explain that. I'm like, it just didn't feel like this issue had enough heat, and Belair has had a historic run, and it should have ended more in a more monumentous way, I suppose. I agree with you. But like I said, I think that one of the reasons they did that is I expect a belt swap immediately. I mean, if they do that right away, that's going to make the finish of that kind of telling. Yo, Tomas, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. I'm going to be joining Tomas and Zach next week talking about King of the Ring in 1998 over on their channel. I'll give you guys links to that once we get that done. Thank you very much for that $5, my friend. Zayn and Owens are responsible for destroying the bloodline. This is God-level storytelling. It was about taking the titles from Reigns. Yeah, I'm glad that Zayn and Owens, and especially Zayn, are going to be the ones that are, Zayn, who started everything in the bloodline as such a joke, this satellite wannabe member of the bloodline that was literally treated and like a toy and abused like a toy with Roman Reigns. Wound up, creating one of the more interesting stories we've seen in wrestling in quite some time, and Zayn being the one, with Roman starting all this stuff with Zayn, and then Zayn being the one to actually really be the driving force behind destroying the bloodline. It's perfect. I love it. I've loved it all along, and tonight was pretty good stuff, or today was pretty good stuff. Okay. Thank you, JJ Leg. WWE's website starts the new World Heavyweight title lineage with Seth Rollins. Okay, so that rumor was false. I had read somewhere that WWE might be merging Rollins' run in with all the other world heavyweight champions they've had in their company's history. But no, he in fact will be. And that's what I thought they wanted to do. That's another reason why I thought Seth Rollins was such a perfect choice, because he was the first NXT champion. So this is another feather in his cap. You wouldn't want to ignore that. So this actually makes sense. This actually, in a way, I guess, makes me happy just for that. Although now you have two different world heavyweight title lineages in your company, but having Seth Rollins be the first again, having already done that in NXT, was something that I thought WWE would want to acknowledge for sure. Interesting. Tatanani is here too. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see Paul Carpenter in the house too. Just hitting any other shout outs if I see you. And I recognize you. Jay Lambo, good to see you as well. Hollywood Guy, thank you so much for the $5. One question. The title is still on SmackDown. Are they calling Asuka up to Raw? No belt swapping, please. No, I think we're going to get a belt swap. I don't want a belt swap either. I think they're stupid. I was hoping WWE would rename the titles or issue or unveil redesigns on the women's belts or something. But now that Bianca's long run is over, there's nothing left to protect. So you could just do your swap. Wouldn't really mean anything at the end of the day. They've already done it a couple times. I hate it. I hate it. Trust me, as much as anybody does, but it's what they do. You know, like they just do this and it sucks, but they got us by the balls. We can't change it. Even if we complain, they don't listen. They never listen. I call Triple H every day, try to tell him all these ideas. He's like, oh, Greg, come on, are you done yet? I gotta go. Just never listens. It's annoying. One of these days. Yeah, the day, Doug, the day that Solo spikes Roman is going to be pretty fantastic. Anyway, Yachiro, good to see you. Have a good night, my friend. Thanks for stopping in here. I got to get out of here, too. I got to head to work. It's Memorial Weekend. We're going to be busy tonight. But luckily, I'm off the next 2 days. I'm going to be here tomorrow night. Don't forget, because we have a Double or Nothing review to do. I'll be watching the pay-per-view, live tweeting during Double or Nothing. And then after the show, we will be here live on the YouTube to do a full review of that show. So back-to-back pay-per-view reviews for us this weekend. The link to tomorrow's Double or Nothing review is up on the channel right at the top of the page there. So make sure you just give that a quick click, hit the like button for me, and save it for later. And we'll be here tomorrow night when I'll be much more awake and I don't have to wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning to watch a pay-per-view, or 9 o'clock in the morning to watch a pay-per-view. We can talk about that tomorrow evening. Hope you guys are having a great holiday weekend so far. Enjoy your Saturday night. Enjoy Double or Nothing tomorrow. And I will be catching you guys right after the show. Y'all have a good one. Peace.